Let's learn IIB. Today, we will discuss on how to build resilience into your middleware landscape. We'll talk about HTTP proxy servlet for IIB. HTTP proxy servlet is a Java var file that is part of the runtime environment in WMB 6.1.0.3 and can be found in the directory shown. By using the HTTP proxy servlet in a servlet container, you can support high availability, load distribution, access to integration node from multiple IP address and ports, and a large number of concurrent HTTP sessions. The HTTP proxy servlet is a Java servlet that you can use in a servlet container such as Apache Tomcat or in a web server such as IBM WebSphere application server. The HTTP proxy servlet receives HTTP requests from the client applications and replaces the support that is provided by integration node and integration server. HTTP proxy servlet supports SSL, that is HTTPS secure protocol. You cannot use the HTTP proxy servlet if you configure your integration node environment to use multi-instance WebSphere MQ queue managers, because the HTTP proxy servlet cannot connect to standby instance of the queue manager when it becomes active. The HTTP proxy servlet is a Java servlet that receives HTTP requests. The HTTP proxy servlet matches the received web address with the web address that the HTTP or SOAP input nodes are exposing, then passes the HTTP request message to the correct HTTP or SOAP input nodes by using WebSphere MQ. The HTTP proxy servlet receives response messages from the SOAP nodes and HTTP nodes and sends them back to client applications over HTTP or HTTPS. The integration node has several internal WebSphere MQ queues, that is system.broker.ws.star, these queues, that are used for the communication between HTTP proxy servlet and SOAP nodes and HTTP nodes. The HTTP proxy servlet is deployed in a servlet container. The servlet container or web container is a runtime environment for servlets and Java Server Pages (JSP). Apache Tomcat is an example for servlet container. WebSphere application server is an example of web server, which includes the functions of a servlet container. The HTTP proxy servlet can be deployed in a local servlet container that is running on the same machine as IBM integration bus, or in a remote servlet container that is running on a different machine to IBM integration bus. The servlet container must allow the HTTP proxy servlet to configure and call the WebSphere MQ classes for Java. Let me know in comments if you have seen any organization using proxy servlet. I have observed HTTP load balancers being used, such as BigIP from F5 and IBM HTTP server. Reply in comments with your observations.